Joining us live from Pennsylvania and New York, we have uh, Sadell Mullally
Yes. Hi.
and and John Mullally in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
are talking about the parable of the wedding feast.
Mhm. Chapter 22, Matthew 22.
See, 22.
Okay. Thank you, Jesus.
So is he still somewhere? He's talking to the Pharisees and doing something?
I think he's still a continuation of, yep, I think I mean, he went out of the city of Bethany, so
And then the Pharisees are now scared.
yeah, he was kind of thing. So now he's giving them he's still talking to them in this, I'm believing. So he's giving them another parable. Yep, they're still with him here. They're still listening.
And Jesus answered and spoke to them again by parables and said, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son and sent out his servant to call those who were invited to the wedding, and they were not willing to come. Again, he sent out other servants, saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and fatted cattle are killed, and all things are ready. Come to the wedding. But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his own farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his servants, treated them spitefully, and killed them. And this man is just trying to throw a party.
Oh no, he's just trying to invite him to the wedding. And then oh, it does seem a little brutal, the reaction, doesn't it?
I don't know. Who are they
And this is it.
marrying?
I know. I mean, this didn't technically happen because it's a parable, but it could have happened, I'm sure.
But when the king heard about it, he was furious, as most would be. And he sent out his armies, destroyed those murderers, and burned up their cities.
Mm.
Maybe not like what everybody else would do. Then he
Yeah.
said to his servant, that seems a little extreme. And then he said to his servants, the wedding is ready. Okay, so everybody he invited to the wedding that said no, he just destroyed them all. And then he's like, all right, guys, the wedding's ready.
All right, the wedding ready. So now we have to think because this is a parable about the kingdom. So he's saying the people that they had originally invited.
Right. But those who were invited were not worthy.
Mm, exactly.
That's what he said.
So is he talking directly to the Pharisees?
Ah.
Mm.
Therefore, go into the highways, and as many as you find, invite to the wedding. So those servants went out to the highways and gathered together all whom they found. Oh, so the Pharisees are the person who's throwing the wedding.
Well, who's invited at least, right?
Is the people invited?
The people invited are the Pharisees, the Jewish people.
Okay.
In a spiritual sense, not in the story. People are invited, or not the people that are on the highways, and the poorer people, in a way, is what he's saying, right?
Well, they're the ones that end up getting invited.
Are now getting invited, right?
So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all whom they found, both bad and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he saw a man there who did not have on a wedding garment. So he said to him, friend, how did you come in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, bind him hand and foot, take him away, and cast him into the outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen.
So, That it seems like a pretty tough spiritual.
Because it's like it's nobody's fault really that the guy, but everybody was just trying to appease. Well,
We think about the story first, right? In a in just the story, the way it's written, right? In the wedding, right?
right. I mean, it sucks that it happened to him and shouldn't have. But
The people
how
that were,
would he have had a wedding garment if he got invited off the street?
yeah, I know.
So unless the guy that invited them all had wedding garments available,
Right, I know what you mean. That's what I was
but then
wondering.
you're also dealing with a king who just killed everybody who didn't come to the wedding.
Right.
So,
And then if we go back, so we got to go back and see in verse 2, he's talking about Jesus. Is it is a story he made up, right? A parable.
right,
The kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son. So is he talking about the wedding is like God arranging the marriage with Jesus? And like, so is that what he's saying in a spiritual aspect? And then
right,
the Pharisees are like, they are thinking that they are the person, that they're worthy and chosen, but then they don't come, right? They don't, maybe like when John the Baptist told them, they rejected the message
right,
of Jesus, or they're rejecting Jesus. So
right.
they're like the ones that don't come to the wedding, but they were the ones that were supposed to come. They were the ones invited, you know? But then to understand the last part, it's harder, isn't it? So then
Yeah,
he
but
goes
they
out.
didn't want to come.
They didn't want to come. So that's the Pharisees, or the people that are think they should be chosen, probably, right? Worthy. But then he goes out to the streets, and that's the collectors and the sinners, well, all of us, you know, and us. And he invites us. But do we come?
Am I not allowed to say that the kingdom of heaven has done bad things? Because like I just don't see how this is anything other than the kingdom of like if you're comparing the kingdom of heaven to the king was furious. He killed everybody.
It's like a certain king. Well, it's not like the king himself, is it? Right? He did
Yeah,
kill
no, the king is the only person that did that.
the king.
Nobody else is influencing the king's decisions besides the king. And he's comparing that to the kingdom of heaven.
Because God does have the say, right? And who gets into the kingdom? If you
Right.
think,
But like you can say you accept the kingdom of heaven, but at the end of the day, it's not up to you either. It's God's judgment on whether you're being truthful or not.
right? Because then
Like you
there's
can
the
say whatever you want down here, but at the end of the like it's not up to you either.
and right, and then God's looking at your heart, and you know whether you're
Like you have the free will, but if you use the free will incorrectly, it is your responsibility to then answer for those transgressions.
right.
But
14 is interesting because he's said that before, right? For many has are called.
few are chosen. So it's like chosen is to be like sometimes you are just chosen. If
Yeah,
you're and like you have to, I guess, make the most of it in that. I don't know.
I know. So let's keep reading and see. But that is definitely pondering, isn't it? Thank you, Lord.
The wedding is ready. I mean, yeah, we'll keep reading. Then the Pharisees went out and plotted how they might entangle him in his talk.
Mm, his talk. That's interesting, isn't it?
But like he makes him so self-conscious.
Yeah. He makes them really upset. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because then they're like, damn, we gotta do something about this guy.
Right. He's saying we're wrong,
If
right?
it's not self-conscious, if these Pharisees, if they truly believed that they were doing their job, it's like,
And now technically they are
because like
fulfilling.
I don't want to say that they're just going after Jesus because he was, but they were like they were trying to not dismantle their entire religion because that's what they were, and
Right.
that's what their fear was.
And it's a legitimate fear because Jesus is bringing a different.
Well, it's not a legitimate fear at the end of the day. It's a delusional fear.
Maybe you're right. I gotcha. A delusional fear, but real for them.
Like the only reason it became a reality is because they were so fearful of it and they acted upon it.
Right.
And the action upon that fear is what made the fear a reality. So like your entire fear is that that would like change your religion. And it didn't change your religion, but like it started a new one.
And people were.
So if your goal in a religion is to recruit as many people, you lost.
Mhm. And technically, it wasn't like he was like because the prophecies were in their religion. Like it was part of it.
Right? Like where else is it coming from?
It's coming from, you know. So, but then you got to understand that. I mean, Sidel thinking, like then God is God, and He knows that all the Pharisees has to go against Jesus to kill him. Like there's still that, you know, because Jesus
Right. And
so
like
knows what's going to happen. So it's
without like he has to do this in order for himself to get killed.
right. And
Because
how many
like
Pharisees did change their mind? Did some of them? We think Nicodemus.
afterwards
I mean, Nicodemus, the guy that
or
came to him at
before,
night, he was right part of that. And then there's
I'm sure he had moved quite a few people. Probably he probably moved almost everybody he talked to, but it's like you
right,
can stir somebody, but not enough to like spill over.
right. And did they see it then when he died? They're like, oh,
Well, that's like that
wow,
was it. Is like everything he had been saying was then like validated by the action,
right.
but
So,
nobody gets to like come to terms with that and accept it until afterwards. And they're like,
yes,
ah, we messed up. But
we were part of that plot
I
prophecy.
mean, they had just as much opportunity. I mean, I think you see a couple times that like the public figures will let a populace dictate what their next decision is. Because at the end of the day, they know there's so many more of these people, and if they choose unwisely, they could get killed. So it's like if the people in that square that day just rose above whatever fear they had of the government or whatever
Right,
to just speak their mind, it may have been different. But then again, that's not what Jesus had wanted because he was assuming like making this a reality,
right,
but
right.
not even for their purposes it was for God's purposes.
For everyone, right.
But nobody even knew about God's purposes, which was the foundation of what it was all built on. So like every single moment leading up to the crucifixion of Jesus had to happen in such a way to where like the only option that they had was
To crucify him.
right.
Wow.
Either that or it happened and the Catholic Church changed everything. But we're not gonna go there. Um, so where am I going? Did I start?
15, were you 15 or 16? Or were you taking?
15.
Okay.
Then the fair, oh yeah, it is. So, and they sent to him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are true and teaching the way of God in truth, nor do you care about anyone, for you do not regard the person of men. Tell us, therefore, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But
They're trying
Jesus,
to, sorry. Well, from verse 15, right? They're trying to entangle him. They're trying
right.
to,
And they sent to him their disciples with the Herodians, saying,
yeah.
they sent to him their disciples. So the Pharisees sent their disciples with the Herodians. Who were they?
Another group, right?
Are they offensive? Or it's just making a distinction?
It's just making a distinction in a way. There's probably more into it than I understand, but probably he's just sending another group so it doesn't seem like the same people all the time that's annoying him, so they can kind of trick him maybe.
So like they're saying you are true, and then the next
They're
statement is a false statement.
right, so they're like flattering. Well,
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 not is it? Is like we know you're speaking the truth. We know that you know what you're talking about. We know that you don't care about a single person and that you don't look at human beings as human beings.
now is that what he's saying, or is
That's
he?
what they're saying.
But are they saying? Do are they saying they don't show partiality, like they don't regard, like there's no hierarchy? Is that what they're saying? You don't, like, you're not like you don't care, as in you have no compassion, but you don't.
Or is he saying he
That,
only regards the people of God and not the people of men?
or like he doesn't have.
Remember, this was a trap for Jesus.
Right,
So who are we to go and decipher what it could have even been?
right. That's true.
Unless they were that.
Come here, little one. Hey, sorry, everybody. Where's my treats? Where's the treats, bird? Come here, mommy. Sorry, everybody.
What
Sorry.
were you saying?
Um, well, I was just thinking that like he doesn't give preference to anyone. Like he doesn't give.
Right.
There's no discrimination. Like he's
Do you
gonna.
mean that?
He's
Well,
good to. That's like that kind of care. Like he doesn't care who you are. He's gonna talk to you no matter what. Not that
okay.
he doesn't care about you, but he doesn't care. Like he cares about everyone and everyone, but he doesn't care that you're
I know, I
her.
understand what you're saying. Everybody's equal. He treated everybody the
Yeah,
same. Like, I get what you're saying.
is that what he's saying?
This is supposed to be entangling Jesus.
It is supposed to be tangled, but I mean, I think that they're buttering
So,
him up a little bit too, because now they're talking about Caesar, right? To pay taxes. They're trying to catch him in some way in the next sentence, you know?
okay.
Maybe, you know?
But Jesus perceived their wickedness and said, Why do you test me, you hypocrites?
So it could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong. Sorry, everybody. Go ahead. But Jesus perceived their wickedness and said, why do you test me, you hypocrites? But anyways, he got him anyways, either way, right?
Show me the tax money. So they brought him a denarius, and he said to them, Whose image and inscription is this? They said to him, Caesar's. And he said to them, Render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And when they heard these words, they marveled and left him and went their way. because that is, right? If you're asking somebody if they're gonna pay tax, and he's like, well, what am I gonna pay the tax with? Oh,
Right.
a Caesarean dollar, also known as a denarius. Like, and it has his face, so like he created it. Of course, give his money back to him.
Right, right.
But
That's
if it had like the image of God on it and it just materialized out of nothing, like our knowledge tokens do in Bible trivia, like if it happened like that and we were just given these things on some like
divine level.
spectrum that we, yeah, that like there was no government involved, nobody was issuing this stuff, like that would be different, right? But this is like somebody created the entire system that we're like living in.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, just follow that rule.
Follow the rule. I mean, and in the um
But
like
then
in
again, like,
your
are
growth, I mean your plants and your growth and their herds, they did give
are
them,
they comparing the tithe that you would make to a church to like the taxes that you would pay to a government?
they could be trying to trick him in that. They could be.
So he's like making the distinction, like give to Caesar what is Caesar's, but if the God, like the church is asking for money, you're allowing
Yeah, and there
it's
is
different.
the
Like,
law, the tithing and everything that's in Leviticus and in their laws,
right,
So I think the things to God that are God's, right?
you know.
Hmm.
But they marveled and they found some peace. I'm
They
not sure
found
why
some peace, yes.
they did.